at
That's right.
Misconfiguration Madness for what I believe, let's double check. Yes, this is the Sweet 16. We're getting down to the wire, boys. How we feeling?
You missed my rage last week, Lawrence.
I caught it, but on the replay, and I have to say, guys, I am really sorry for not being present. To Zach's point, I was stuck in a TSA line, and it was three steps of insanity there. But caught it on the replay, and man, I'll tell you, like after last week, whew, right? This is the real deal now. Like we're down to the wire.
We are down to the wire, and Hal might need some tweaking for next year's tournament because
I don't know. Man, all right, so I was looking at the Riz for this week, right? So like why don't we like just for anyone who happened to not tune in, let's talk about Hal.
Let's do it.
All right. So for everyone who doesn't know, Hal is our Misconfiguration Madness best friend. Hal is the hardening
enemy,
and
buddy.
all right. I'll give you that, right. Hal is the hardening and logging computer, and it is the mechanism by which all things Misconfiguration Madness are scored. Now, in the first half, there are two scores. There's a first half score and a second half score. In the first half score, we are anchored solely in the controls, and we are looking at the CIS controls in a typical small business environment. And really importantly, Hal makes one very important presumption. If that small business has but one control, one safeguard that they have implemented, and that's the one that we're talking about in each misconfiguration, how much of an impact does that one safeguard make? Like, what does it actually contribute? And so that's our first half score, right? It is really about practical control value and in a typical small business environment. But the second half is where it gets really, really crazy. And that is when we bring in a compliance framework to it. And for that compliance framework, we are leaning on NIST 100-171, or as we all know and love it, as CMMC. Now, inside of the second half score, we're looking at the attack prevalence. We're looking at how difficult that attack is to carry out in a typical small business environment. But I think very importantly here, we're also considering what is the CMMC score, the SPRS score impact that misconfiguration has. On the bottom of each of the teams, you're going to see a NIST 100-171 control. You're going to see that there, and there's an appropriate SPRS security or a score that has an impact. So it could be a 1, a 3, or a 5. One pointers at this point in the Sweet 16. I don't think we have any more 1-pointers left. I think they all got wiped out. I think everything we're dealing with today are either 3-pointers or 5-pointers for the really heavy stuff. But then Hal, right? Like it's our best friend. I know Dustin loves Hal. Right. I mean, right. You guys are, yeah, right. But Hal has Riz, and Riz is our recent indicator signal. And so what Hal is doing is Hal is looking back of the misconfigurations that we're talking about. It's looking in the popular news. It's looking in things like GTIA, in the ISAO. It's looking in threat feeds. It's looking in all of the things that happened in the last 14 days. And it's seeing, did this misconfiguration show up in any of these threat feeds in the last 14 days? And so it can throw this whole competition upside down. And I'll tell you, this week, the Riz is like, it's thick. And so we have some FBI and CISA credential theft via phishing and impersonation that is in our Riz indicator. We have industrialized phishing infrastructure that was tied to a Russian state-sponsored threat actor that came from Microsoft. We have malware malware delivery through email and user interaction campaigns, specifically with PDF lures and compromised attachments. And we have post-compromise activity inside of cloud and SaaS platforms using mailbox.
It's been an intense week.
It really has. And as the internet connection at the RSA hotel room catches up to Lawrence,
all kind of stuff. Yeah. So man, it has been wild. So all right, with that is a riz. We have a lot of stuff this week that can cause some real big upsets.
We definitely do. And you talk about one of those threat intelligence being the GTIA ISAO. Sounds like a good opportunity to introduce Mr. Wayne Selk from GTI himself. And for those viewers who don't know, introduce what that threat intelligence feed is, as well as yourself.
Sure, and I'm very happy to be here, guys. Thanks again for inviting me to participate, especially in week 4, because I mean my regular bracket for March Madness bust when
the Gators.
I was not happy about that, by the way. There were a lot of real upsets in the race too. Right?
Whoa, watch how you throw around that real word. This is all I know.
So hi, everyone. Wayne Selk from the Global Technology Industry Association. I am the head of the cybersecurity programs team, of which there's 2 areas of focus. One, we have a cybersecurity trust mark to help you with securing your MSP, and a whole program to help you to get a foundational security program put in play. But more importantly, and why we're talking about some of this stuff, is the GTIA Information Sharing and Analysis Organization. So I'm also the executive director today for the organization, and it really the ISAO's been around at formerly CompTIA. I'll just say the association since 2019, I believe, and so we're always changing up how threat intel comes in and is made available to the IT service provider community around the world. So we take feeds in from everybody. We have our own set of analysts who do a wonderful job of being able to distill that information and provide additional commentary for applicability around you specifically from an ITSP, but also you can actually ask them questions and the impact that it may have on your customers as well. So we have discussion forums. We have the ability for you to see your own cyber risk rating through Orpheus Cyber today. We just inked the deal with Exigent. We will be launching in very short order quarterly tabletop exercises of cohorts, no more than 25 each quarter, to be able to walk through doing tabletop exercises so that you can actually take that back to your customer.
And that's breaking news. First heard on Misconfiguration Madness. That's incredible.
Sharing the deal with everybody that's watching. Our threat intel platform is with Level Blue Open Threat Exchange, which is great because you, again, get information from around the globe in the form of pulses with indicators of compromise that you're able to put inside of your organization. Very easy to read, easy to digest information, which is important because no matter where you are in your cyber journey, right, from a maturity perspective, you don't understand everything today. That's okay, right? We're trying to help everybody and raise the bar for that level of awareness. So jump in, join, share. That is probably the key takeaway. It's not just about us giving you information. If you see something, you need to say something so that it can be verified, validated, corroborated, and then we can actually pick up on those targets and start sending information back out to the broader community as well.
And not only you picking up that information, sending it out, but how to take in and get the real-time data for these scores.
Exactly.
I mean, I saw the GTIA ISAO multiple times in the Riz analysis this week,
Nice.
and I thought well, like, and I think Dustin hinted at this earlier, that HAL is listening to us and it's learning from us, and if there's any takeaway that I have from RSA this year, is that AI is everywhere. And so I think Hal upgraded his skills.md file and to make sure that he's listening to the GTI ISAO threat feed. So it was Wayne, I saw it, I was like, oh man, this is amazing, the timing of you being on this week. So
Perfect.
Super cool.
Thank you.
And you say you maybe found out where AI lives. I also found where AI lives, and that's the vendor floor at RSA. I don't think there was a single booth that AI wasn't living at.
100%. I mean, even in the like the coffee stands that they had there is something about AI in the coffee.
Yep.
It was absolutely amazing. So for everyone that's tuning in that wasn't at RSA, it's like Vegas for nerds. And it was agentic AI for all of the things. It's fascinating.
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah.
It's nice when we don't have 32 matchups to cover, because we actually get to know ourselves and share who we are for the audience. So maybe we'll have to do a pre-madness kickoff where we actually just, share who we are.
Yeah, and just vamp a little bit. All right, so Dustin, I saw you posted that your Reddit burner accounts have been really active. All right, let's see how they fare here.
Let's do it. And before we kick in, I want to take a moment and show kind of how the bracket's playing out here. So one of the cool things with this, we talk every week on all these teams, but this is a real bracket being filled out in real time. So if you are missing the action, don't have time to watch the replay, you can still catch a little bit of the information about it. A goal of mine with bandwidth opening up is maybe to attach a little bit of the commentary video here, but these are things that you can see exactly how it's playing out, and you can see the teams we're going to be talking about next week and the ones coming up. So very, very excited. And given next week, we obviously are getting down to that Elite 8 and Final 4 and the championship all in 1 week. We may do a little bit of a post-game debrief on some of these major upsets to see if Lawrence has anything he wants to backtrack about Hal's Riz ingestion or justification. So be sure to catch that championship matchup next week. I'm excited for that one too. So with that, I will pass it back to the producer to go ahead and pull up today's matchups. Pretty cool to see how the bracket's playing out. I mean, it's pretty fun.
It is. It's and when you throw in the fact that we are upsetting this week by week with what's happening in the news, it's amazing.
And speaking of those keeping up with the news, this is actually the leadership board of those who submitted the top 10 people actually playing. So you can see, just like Misconfiguration Madness for the NCAA, each round is weighted differently. Obviously, if you have players or other teams still in the tournament, you have a chance to have a higher score going into the Final Four and so forth. But shout out to Chelsea Weber for taking first place with a 3-point lead. Chris Sears had that championship after the first round, but we'll see if he gets that comeback. I caught up with him actually last week. He's really shooting for that Nintendo Switch so he can play with his son.
So maybe he has more burner accounts than Dustin.
It's a valid strategy.
I mean, it is. I mean, 100%. If you know the subreddits that Hal's monitoring, I mean, and perhaps maybe Chelsea is in there like just dominating all of it.
All right, let's kick on in. We already got the debrief from Lawrence on Hal, so we can kind of skip over that rule taking and we'll get into the first matchup of the Sweet 16. And as a heads up to the panelists here, there's going to be some time. Again, we don't have 32 matchups, and these matchups are probably a lot more intense, could be closer scoring. So if you have thoughts, we got time this time. All right, so kicking into it, we have a fan favorite, a legacy favorite, SMB V1 Zombie Share making its return after going all the way to the Elite 8 last year, hoping for a repeat. Going against DNS Filter, completely missing. Now, all of us have been pretty confident with Hal from the first half score. Not a lot of surprises there. It's really when that Riz comes into play. So, given Lawrence, you missed last week, what's going on in this matchup?
Oh man, so for first half, last year I was all in with SMB V1 because somehow or another, even back then in 2025, we still had SMB V1. 2026, we still have SMB V1. It's something that we see on an assessment side, in almost every single assessment, we still see SMB V1. I think for me, my favorite is still going to be SMBv1. DNS filtering, super effective. It's one of the easiest ways that you can really not just control what your what malicious activities is happening inside of an organization, but also like control shadow IT. So really effective. But I think for first half, my bet is 100% with SMBv1. No two ways about it.
No DNS means malware can kind of communicate quite easily. Dustin,
true.
you feeling that SMBv1 is going to hold that first half?
No, not anymore.
No.
No, and I think on that one, it's just going back to like what's a singular control, right? If you had one or the other of these, is the DNS filtering is going to be a lot more pervasive. That being said, I want to tell Wayne our fun trivia that we found out. So Wayne, the first one, Matt Lee and I were there, and we're like, oh, you got to get inside the network for SMBv1, and then both of us were like, wait a second, if you go on Shodan right now, how many ports do you think SMBv1 are open to the internet?
Oh, look, I've listened to all 3 previous episodes, so I already know the answer to this one.
Lifetime listener, first time panelist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was way too many. That's how many.
That's always the right answer.
20, north of 20,000, right?
I think it's 28,000 if I remember right.
Yeah. It was
crazy. It was some insane number.
Yeah, Lawrence, last week, Kelvin jumped on with us and pointed out, too, that most ISPs block that port also, so there's probably a bunch more that are accidentally open that just can't be reached. But
that's a solid point.
I'm going DNS filter.
You're going DNS.
All right. We got a split panel. Wayne, someone has to produce those results, so my vote doesn't count here. What do we got? Who's taking the first half?
You know, if I'm going to go with SMBv1. I'm going to agree with Lawrence on this one because honestly, this has the potential for stuff to go sideways very, very quickly. Even more so than, look, DNS filter being MIA is problematic inside of the organization, but the fact that the vulnerable version of SMB is still active in many organizations from that misconfiguration standpoint is very worrisome and troublesome to me. So I think first half definitely going to be SMB, and I'm not seeing an upset here. DNS filter in the final score. I think this one's going to. It's still too prevalent, right? And it's unfortunate because it's an easy fix to just stop it from that.
And let's see that first half score. Let's see where we're at. All right, Dustin, some cyber insurance point of view.
Wow,
that's some background talk there. SMBv1 total destruction versus just the quiet communication. Under the radar seems to be a little bit more valuable to that HAL algorithm.
Wow.
Yeah,
all right.
Insurance side, we love port scams, so anything we can see. But being honest, I got a good story. Remind me to tell you guys the honeypot story later. But yeah, the DNS filter, just the pattern this year. That was why I was betting on that one. I think it's going to win the final score too.
Well, tell us a little bit. You're saying you're seeing a pattern. What's that insurance point of view? What are you actually seeing?
No, I meant for HAL.
You're playing HAL still in your guess.
I'm always playing HAL, man. Yeah. No, insurance side, SMBv1's going to win all day here. I mean, that is one of there's a handful of ports that get scanned by insurance like clockwork, and that is absolutely one of them. So you're going to see, say the majority of carriers these days, if you did have SMB v1 open or SMB period, right, open
Yeah.
to the internet, that's going to get flagged, and that is going to
Well,
hurt you bad, either on price or just even being able to get coverage.
I mean, if you're saying it's prevalent in insurance, what's the alignment between insurance and compliance? Are we going to see an upset in the second half?
I think it's gonna it goes back to that single control on how, right? It loves the more compliance focused stuff, and it likes those single controls. And like you said earlier, right, is SMB v1 can break you pretty bad in one spot, but you got stuff all over the network doing who knows what. If you got DNS filtering, you know.
Yeah. And Wayne, introduce a little bit more. Obviously, GTIA has the trust mark. If you want to give a quick shout out as to what that is, feel free. But also share a little bit on your CMMC background. Do you have a knowledge base background in CMMC, or is this where we're leaning on Lawrence again?
So in a prior life, I used to do 853 audits and assessments as well as 171. CMMC was still in its very infancy as a thought and theorem when I was busy doing those assessments for organizations that were supporting the public sector on behalf of the private. There, from a holistic perspective for the government auditor community, right? Both of these are very important. I think the challenge here is that both kind of impact network traffic and the routing of such. But the fact that you can gain root very quickly with SMB v1 is probably a bigger configuration challenge for the CMMC compliance than DNS, in my humble opinion. But that doesn't mean that it's not important, right? I think this is I suspect this is going to be a lot closer than we anticipate.
Okay, so 10-point lead in that first half, a little surprising. Lawrence, you even said you're seeing SMBV1 still pop up in a lot of the assessments you're working on. What does it mean if SMBV1 is still there and someone's trying to go level 2? I mean, can you as a SMBV1 if it's segmented off, or is it just a whole no-go?
So scoping is one of the most important parts of any CMMC assessment. And everything that is inside the scope has to comply with all 110 controls of NIST 100-171. SMBV1 does not comply with many of the controls, many of the requirements, specifically around boundary protection, authentications, authenticity. I mean, there's a lot of places that SMBV1 just it's a legacy old authentication protocol, and we really can't have it inside of a 800-171 compliant boundary. And I think if we look at what the potential impact is with the SPURS scores specifically, right? You can see in the bottom of this that we're anchoring on the SC L2 313.8 control for SMBV1, and for DNS filter, we are leaning onto the SI L2 314.6 control, and so both of those very important. So for 314.6, right, that's a 5-point. That's a 5-point control. So NIST believes that is that's very important, and that really pertains to how we're monitoring the system. That we're monitoring we're able to monitor what's happening inside of the system. Whereas that 313.8 control specifically, it's a 3-point control. But at the same time, I would argue that really 313.1, which tells us to protect our boundary, also applies here. We have again, authentication, authenticity, the ability to have replay resistant authentication. All of these kind of lean into SMBV1. So from a compliance perspective, we are absolutely still seeing it. If we see it inside of a boundary, that effectively is really an all stop. because we understand that there's really not a secure baseline that's being configured, that we have all of these other legacy protocols that have been implemented, secure system standards haven't been implemented. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of bad that goes along with it. Whereas if a DNS filter is missing, I mean, there's lots of compensating controls that we can implement there. Anyway, so all of that said, I think for second half it's going to be SMB v1 hands down.
Come back.
Yeah, this is going to be just not even a fair fight.
All right, and Wayne, I want to go back to you. Obviously, you have a very broad spectrum. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but not an MSP by trade, but obviously you have a ton of exposure to the MSP market. Is there a difficulty level to just disabling SMBv1? You know, what is the reason that Lawrence is still seeing it out there? Is there an excuse, a good reason to keep it?
I think really what it boils down to is the fact that that many manufacturers still allow SMB 1001 inside of their configurations, and they should just remove it as being available. And it's often overlooked as something that they need to shut off. Because again, look, Lawrence, I'm going to kind of date myself here, and I don't mean to drag you along in this, but SMB 1001 or SMB version 1 has been around for 20
ever. Forever. I mean, so Wayne, let me join you in dating myself. Right. So I've been certified in a Microsoft product since NT 351.
Nice.
And right, it was a big deal when we had RC40 encryption back then. And yeah, it's I mean, it's 20 something years old. Microsoft has all but begged people to turn it off. And yeah, I want to lean into something you said there, and I think it's absolutely right. It's still on mostly by default. It's available by default.
Yep.
And on by default. And I think that's where something like the CIS benchmarks or a baseline standard, but the CIS benchmarks directly tell us to like turn the old stuff off. So it is, yeah. So like, and I think having that external source of truth, that the greater collective wisdom available, like in the benchmarks, that really goes to something like this, where people, right, that may be new to this business, that are used to a cloud native everything, where all the communication is by default TLS 1.2 encrypted, and then they have this one thing that's on-prem and it works, right? I mean, like, it just works. So they presume that it's secure, but that presumption really in a pre-cloud native era couldn't be made.
Well,
is that fair?
There's that, and I think part of the other challenge, Zach, to get to the heart of your question is really we're talking about it now on Misconfiguration Madness, and yes, CIS has it listed in one of their prescriptive controls, and so does CMMC. However, when you look at some of the other set, it's assumed you've already accounted for this, right? And so it has to do with the, again, I'm going to date myself. If you've grown up in technology and know about some of these legacy vulnerabilities that still exist out there, yes, of course, before you connect it to the network, you're going to shut everything off that you know is already vulnerable. And I guess that's the real lesson here for many of the folks listening. If you still are running SMB v1 or some of these other on by default misconfigurations, you should, this is why we talk about having a secure baseline, right?
Yeah.
Which also came up, and I think one in last week as well. So we'll probably see that again. But secure baselines are important. So anytime we connect up a new system or acquire a new piece of technology, we have to run through the checklist regardless of how far back they go, because they could have reintroduced something silly like SMBv1 back into the technology. I'm just saying, right? You know, stuff like that happens.
Oh, or like NTLM. I mean, like we see NTLM v1 all the time.
Mhm.
And the number of software manufacturers that just say, oh, no, like it has to be on,
Right.
is I would say borderline irresponsible. But like I look at the date sometimes and I'm like, is it like 2012? Like what year are we in? I mean, because right, so someone can fact check me here, but I mean, Microsoft published a blog that I recall, and they effectively very similar to SMB v1. They were saying like, this is a bad idea. Like we evolved this protocol, turn this old stuff off. We've evolved the protocol. There are better options now.
Right.
And like when Microsoft does that, maybe we should all listen.
Well, and I like something else you guys said about, it's just sitting there, okay, it just works. That's the other piece too. It blows my mind. Going back again, insurance, we love external scans. The amount of things that have like SSL3 still turned on, where it's like, go turn it off. 99% of the time, nothing breaks on these older protocols, right? I mean, okay, if you're doing CMMC and it's a manufacturing, plant with a bunch of Windows 98 CNC machines, maybe that's a little different. But to your example earlier of, it's a SaaS native company, except they have one device on site. You can probably turn off SMB v1 and SSL3 and nobody will notice a difference.
No one will notice it.
I wish the vendors would do that for us and like leave it as a toggle you can maybe turn on, but that's a different conversation for a different day.
I would say I don't think it would be a misconfiguration madness if we did not give a hat tip to former director of CISA Jen Easterly and her Secure by Default, Secure by Design initiative. Right. Like that came up even here at RSA this week in multiple conversations around like how as an industry, not just software, but as a whole industry, that is something that we need to lean toward, that make the features available. Like if there are less secure features that some portion of the population still needs, make them available, but turn them off by default. I mean, it's easy enough to do that, and but it does. It absolutely does. And I think it to the point you're kind of alluding to, it causes increased friction for deployment. That it doesn't then just work. You have to figure out why it does not work if there's legacy technology that's there.
Yeah.
Honestly, they should just remove the bad code from the technology to begin with, right? There's no reason to leave it in. There's not even a reason to eventually turn it on. If you're still running that outdated of other systems that require this wickedly old technology, it's time to find another solution, right? You should have already been planning for that.
One of the attacks that I learned about and then really dug into earlier this week at another security conference prior to RSA was the exploitation of the finger command, right? So talk about dating myself, but that it is still shipping in Windows.
Right.
What? I didn't know that.
What?
I did not know that.
Right?
Telnet is too, right?
Telnet is not on by default anymore, though.
It's not on by default, but it's still shipping with.
Oh, yeah.
That was the right.
Yeah.
Well, Windows will always ship with everything. There's one piece I got to dive in a little bit further. So, one, Dustin, you said vendors should just turn off SMB1. That's crazy because imagine if they just installed Sention. But the more important thing here is the more important thing, and all of you actually touched on this. When you turn off SMBv1 or NTLM-v1 or any of these settings and something breaks, something goes wrong, that is an indicator, very likely, of something else being set up poorly, some application using something they shouldn't, something else that is much worse than you turning that off. So, I want to take a moment and just kind of thank all these misconfigurations because they typically outline some accepted risk you don't know about when you disable them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's true, right? You end up sometimes following and chasing a rabbit hole or a wormhole to see what else is going on inside of your environment. The upside there, though, is at least you're finding it now before a threat actor finds it and can exploit it.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
So big shout out to all these teams making the tournament, just exposing risk we don't know about. And on that notion of exposing risk, let's see if we have our first upset today, or if SMBV1 is going to come back and have that 4 seed. They do.
Yeah.
SMBV1 kept it. Dustin smiling in his heart and realizing Hal's biases might be coming to a path we agree on.
I'm a terrible gambler.
I would have expected it to
I think Dustin has like algorithmically deconstructed Hal, and maybe he and Chelsea have like coordinated their burner accounts out there to drive that Riz score up. Maybe there's some collusion here. What do you think, Wayne?
No, definitely. I would have. I seriously, I would have expected that to be a little closer of a score from Hal.
It's awesome to see. It's nice when the panel gets it right, or even if they try to go against what they think is right, still got it right in their heart. So let's hop into game 2. No upset yet today, so we're going to hop into default accounts alive, good old passwords that everybody knows, versus antivirus completely missing. Ooh, I got my gut instinct here, but let's kick it to Wayne.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Yeah, I like to mix it
No
up,
pressure.
make sure everyone's on their toes. You can always stall and pass it back to someone.
So this one's interesting, right? And I was paying attention to how these two shook out in last week's episode as well. And I was very surprised with AV from a traditional AV perspective, not so much from an EDR perspective, right? And the default accounts, which again, this is something that was discussed in nauseam last week. I can't believe that vendors are still allowing for default accounts to still exist, right? But this too is a huge issue for being left in those systems instead of forcing them to set the accounts right when they turn it on. A very easy solution to a very troublesome problem that exists today. Again, it's hard to believe that AV is the number 2 seed here with default accounts being 6, because I would have expected these two to be, again, a lot closer, especially from the impact of malware inside of the environments. I'm going to go with I'm gonna attempt to read Hal as well.
Oh boy.
So I think AV is going to take the first half, but I think in the second half, default accounts is going to come out and pull off the upside.
Ooh.
I mean, I have a question actually, and whoever wants to pick up my pass here. If default accounts are alive, is that effectively basically skipping the hack and allowing people just to log right in while antivirus not being there? You still have to do something.
Still got to have some kind of chain attack. Yeah, the default account's alive. I think it was last week we were talking about it. I saw a breach recently with MSP where they factory reset a piece of software, for lack of a better term. They were reconfiguring it, and it had a built-in default admin account. It was web facing, and they got popped entirely off of that. I think it was even while they were still configuring it, right? But it was a production
that's
system.
just unlucky.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you cannot configure on an active internet allowed network.
Thank you.
If it's not on prod, am I really on it? I mean,
guys, it's just for a minute though. It'll be fine.
Yeah. No, there's no chance that anyone's scanning that at that moment in time. Not a chance.
Not a chance.
But yeah,
and
so
Wayne's getting the
day.
audience on his side. It looks like we got a point towards Wayne, but Dustin, keep on going. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say default accounts all day, every day for me. That's just like you said. It's sitting there, and you fingerprint it, and you say, oh, it's running this piece of software, and then it's ready to go.
Log in. That's right. Just log in. I mean, right. Both of these are IG1, right? So in the first half, both these are IG1 controls. So 4.7 and 10.1, both IG1 safeguards. Right. If we look at I think the probabilistic risk, I think that we have potentially no chain that we have to, no kill chain we really have to like go down. If that default account is alive, yeah, the attacker logs right in. They are root, they're admin, they can carry out their objectives. They have absolutely no friction, and we as defenders have nothing to say against it other than can we turn off the default account fast enough?
Well, and one more add to that. I'm going to pull that thread a little bit, right? It's not, most organizations are not even auditing to those default accounts, right? So it's completely missed.
Right.
So you don't even know they're in the network because you're not even getting alerted to the fact that they just signed in with that default account.
With the default, yep.
Well,
Right?
that's a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, how are we identifying these?
Yeah.
Yeah, and to Dustin's point, right? Like software, it's not just the operating systems, because I know everyone automatically disables and renames guest and renames administrator. I know they do that like every single everyone, right? Like everyone does that
On every
immediately.
switch, everything.
But then the software, right? Like these especially web-facing software, or I know no one that's listening to this, not a single person, that their any of their SQL servers, that the SA account has I know that has a complex password, and maybe you're not even using a password, you're using some form of token-based authentication for that. I know that, but for those that wouldn't do that, right, that's just like, that's your database, right? I mean, the number of pieces of software that I have encountered that the setup instructions say like SA, no password, off you go, deploy it, and no one ever thinks about it. And right, and Wayne, like to your point, you're not getting alerted that that account's even being used.
Yep.
Yep.
So that's the persistence side of it. So let's go ahead and see this first SAFT score and see if persistence takes execution, and it does not.
Oh,
okay. So Wayne's on track. He did say antivirus is the first half, but I mean, we're talking, the more we talk about this, the more I'm feeling an upset personally. I mean, you're talking about an account being used and no one knowing. I mean, if they have persistence, it doesn't matter if AV's there. They can do what they want, right?
Yeah.
That's absolutely true.
So we feeling a second half upset, or is antivirus going to hold? I mean, this is where Riz and compliance comes into the factors.
It definitely does, and I think from the CMMC perspective here, right, we're talking about the AC domain, and for anyone who has ever like looked at 800.171, like that AC domain is really long. There's so many dimensions that are there. I mean, it is a hard 5-point fail. Like you can see 311 there, and I think for anyone who's in the CMMC community or been around that space, right, how often do we all start with, like most assessments start with 311, and it is like, it is one of those things that you've got to get it right. As opposed to over there with AV MIA, right? No, so we're in the SI domain there, and right, we're still, both of these are 5-pointers, right? So both of these have 5-point SPRS impacts, right? And with 314.2, that's talking about providing protection against malicious code, but the indirect, right, the indirect impacts of that AV really goes to 314.6, and there's some other monitoring elements that we would not necessarily see, that we have things that are happening in the system, but over on back with that default accounts alive, that AC domain, right, we have lots of indirect impacts to not governing access to who has access to the system. Once we lose that, right, I think sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right. So I think from a compliance perspective, I am all in with default accounts. And right, we had a little bit of Riz, right? We had some right. So like this week, let me go pull that up.
And
right,
while,
so
while
we
you
had,
got it.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna hand it to Dustin really quick while you were pulling that up.
Yeah.
You know, putting back your trunk slammer hat on, Wayne and Lawrence have both said it's almost impossible to know if these factory accounts are actually being used. Is there any proactive steps or recommendations to identifying where defaults accounts live?
Ooh, that's a good question, Zach.
Yeah, not that I know, at least not that works at scale. But my thing is like, look at a lot of the. You can make a general kind of good enough checklist. Maybe not good enough for like a CMMC or something like that, but your average MSP, right? You're going to have a lot of stuff. It's going to have an admin or administrator. It's going to have a guest. You can sort of build a list and go through and audit your stuff.
Yeah, some
Whenever you
asset
set up
inventory, maybe controls
Yeah.
1 and 2.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I mean, we were talking last time was I think Windows just got rid of the default administrator account with Windows 10. So like anything older than that, it comes with an administrator account. You know it's going to be there. So just a couple of those key basic ones. I feel like that gets you halfway there.
Like it. Lawrence,
Yeah.
did you have some
Yeah.
Riz and some final guesses before we see this?
So I'm looking at the Riz information this weekend, right? So we have credential theft via phishing. That's out of FBI and CISA. Out of GTIA, we have compromised legitimate domains, lookalike domains, trusted hosting platforms to use. They're being used to deliver phishing pages and malware, spoofed login portals. We have malware delivery, so that AV malware delivery through email, PDF lures.
Into the Riz for default accounts, man. That sounds like there might be too much on the 2-seed side.
Nobody's talking about AV being missing these days.
Yeah. Wow. So I mean, there's a lot of Riz this week for some of this malware, but I'm still on that 6 seed.
All right, let's pull up that final score and see if it holds.
Oh,
and antivirus pulled away. Even it even took a larger lead going into it.
I think that Riz score really made the difference this week, because I mean there's right, we have multiple lines here that have something to do with malware being delivered and executed.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about it that way. Yeah, it's looking at the payload, not the method of entry, but the payload.
Right.
Yeah, the payload. Yeah.
It's about what makes the headlines, not how they get in.
Yeah.
All right.
That is very true.
No upsets yet. I wonder if there'll be any, or if Hal's seeding is just going to stay a little too on the nose as we get later in the tournament. So let's get into the next game. We have Segmentation Absent, personal fan favorite there, and I think only the last 1 seed remaining potentially. I'm not positive on that. We'll find out if we have one later this episode. Going against Exploit Protection Off Duty. Segmentation means once you're in, the whole network's yours. Exploitation off is everywhere else. Yep. All right, Dustin, let's kick off with you, man.
All right, I'm gonna start us off with a hot take. I think said and agreed these on a couple of them now. Is segmentation is one of those things that I don't trust 99% of people are doing it right. It's like, oh yeah, I got a firewall.
We're going back to Eric Wells' episode constantly. It's just like, yeah, it would be the best, but
I'm gonna put 4 networks in this, and I'm gonna open the firewall between each of them because I couldn't get it working right.
I couldn't get it working right.
Or that DLP is deployed consistently like the right way all the time, right? I think we talked about that before as well.
Yeah. So I'm leaning on exploit protection off duty, especially like Windows, for example, has got not great, but they've gotten some pretty good stuff built in these days. A lot of just exploit prevention generic. We have weaponized documents, right? Turning off macros in Office. Like there's a lot of stuff you can. Going back to the defaults, there used to be a lot of dumb stuff. There's a lot less now. So I think exploit protection off duty, like that's a good, we talked about the cybersecurity poverty line, right? Where we're just stopping those basic, that relatively easy to prevent with a little bit of effort. And I think exploit protection, that's a big win. And especially going back to the whole thing, if we had no other controls on the network, segmentation's not going to help you with all the other stupid stuff going on. But kind of like the last one, malware prevention, right? That exploit protection is going to be a big help. People love clicking and opening stuff.
I feel like a lot of people, I mean, the whole tagline there is 0 day meets zero resistance. I think anything that comes out makes it automatic. Lawrence, you vibing with Dustin here? Is the 1 seed going to retain the 1 seed?
So the practitioner in me really wants to go in with segmentation, right? Like I really want to lean into segmentation, but the realist in me, I'm completely in line, because the number of times that I have looked and as an assessor look at a network, and they're like, oh, we have all of these network segments and it's beautiful, and then I mean, like it's all role based, it's gorgeous, and then exactly what Dustin said is like, oh yeah, we have like all these rules in the firewall to like limit traffic, and then the last one is like any to any IP. It's like, yep, you got some great firewall rules. That last one, it's doing a lot of there, isn't it? So I'm going to exploit protection for sure in the first round.
I'm getting a little nervous. I mean, I'm trying to think back of how Hal's been looking at things. To that DLP example, who I believe is in the Sweet 16 today. Hal, I think, thinks highly of us humans actually setting up these teams correctly. So your guys' biases might be swaying. I'm not sure. Wayne,
I am 100%. I'm going to say I'm 100% biased, right? Like my practitioner brain just wants to lean into it, so I am biased. I think Wayne can set us all straight, because he is he has the 853 background here. So let's hear it.
Wayne, give us some sense. Is this and I did check the schedule of today. The other 1 seed, believe it or not, is indeed DLP. So Wayne, are we gonna have the one of the last 2 1 seeds out of here? Where are you feeling?
I will say this: when you get down to the Sweet 16, and I don't care if we're talking real basketball here or we're talking this misconfiguration set, you're coming up.
You keep on using the word "real," brother. This is all I know.
It's real to life.
I know. Right?
This is. I mean, this is like real world consequences, right?
You can get frustrated with the upsets that have happened. A lot of interesting underdog teams. Right, because I think it relates into the misconfiguration side as well, right? Where we don't often think about these underdogs actually coming out on top ahead of the perceived, predicted, or predictable winner, right? Because of how long they've been around from a misconfiguration perspective. Look, I agree with Lawrence on this one. My practitioner side, my recovering practitioner side, I'm not practicing anymore like Lawrence is, tells me segmentation is really the thing. Yeah, thanks, Austin. But honestly, now knowing that I got burned on that last one, not reading the deployment and execution of malware, I think the exploit protection, just again thinking about how Hal is viewing this, and I think I was batting 1,000 on that last time that I used the Hal prediction model. I think we may have an upset here, Zach, with exploit coming in above the segmentation side.
See how it gets in your head, Wayne.
Yeah.
You guys, every time I feel like the heart goes one way and then you guys are choosing the other. But let's pull up the first half. We have the mouse. Ooh, a big lead. This is the biggest lead in the Sweet 16 we've seen. All right. It's getting dicey out there.
All right.
To maintain some pace and make sure we have enough time to dive in, let's quickly find out if we have a 4 seed coming back in that compliance second half Riz into effect. Who takes the cake here? Maybe producer with the final score.
All right.
Wow. Interesting.
Sorry about it, panel.
Wow.
We could go back and chat some more about why the segmentation absolutely should have won that over the exploit. But My concern was that Hal was over the past 2 weeks. I'd be willing to bet that there was probably more that we find.
Well, I mean, right. So 313-1, 5 points, right? So five Spurs points there. 314-2, same thing. That's a 5-pointer. But the indirect, right? I mean, that indirect score from a CMMC perspective, right? All of the other things that could be dependent on that. There's definitely more on segmentation absent. But my practitioner heart. Right, my practitioner heart was broken here because I know that, and of course, no one watching this would ever possibly have any rule on the bottom of their firewall between those network segments, and they have full stack SSL inspection and lots of IDS. But all right,
The one seed stays, and Hal. I think the takeaway for me is Hal trusts the human engineers. When they say they're going to set something up, they can do it.
I think you're right.
All right.
On time and on budget every single time.
It's never heard anything else, not only in the cybersecurity field, but construction and everything else.
Right.
I think it goes to show that folks cannot rely upon, for 100% certainty, that their edge is going to be there for them. Right. So keep that in mind for those of you that are watching this or listening to the replay. That edge is good, but it's not great, and there's still some challenges with not having that proper segmentation put into your network, even with your edge.
If it's set up right, it can be the powerhouse layer as we're seeing in this tournament.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. We actually have one of the upset favorites coming into the matchup here. Logs Not Retained took down a 2 seed in the first round. Namely, it was Endpoint Firewall. The seed people had going all the way to the Elite 8 knocked out in the round of 64. So Logs Not Retained is a sleeper cell, they're calling them. But we got it going against MFA, and MFA is definitely going to get some riz, I'm feeling. So
I'm pulling up that riz list just to see. I mean, we definitely have credential theft this week. We have exploitation inside of cloud platforms. So one particularly, it was not having replay resistant MFA or phishing resistant MFA implemented. So I mean, we have directly named MFA this week in some of this riz.
But Dustin, Hal can't spell Hal without the L for logs.
Yeah. This is like the worst one for me.
Right.
The tremor in your voice.
Yeah. Because I know I just know how it's going to go deep down. So I'm going to say MFA. I was just talking to a company the other day that got a 365 breach, and they had MFA not turn on for people. It's like Microsoft did that report a couple of years ago. 99%, 99 point something. It'll stop it. MFA is such a easy control, but I know Hal is log obsessed. So.
Wayne, you've been a lifetime watcher. One team here is going to hide the crime. One makes it trivial. Who are you taking?
There's again, so there are these matchups are like spot on with just the angst around. I can't believe we're even still talking about these things, but
wait till next year's tournament.
Well, right. But honestly, if you don't have the logs, you can't find what else is going on or could have been done within your environment space. And the fact that MFA is MIA just allows folks to come into the front door all over again, right? So they're both up there in my mind. You're gonna make me pick one.
Well, let's go ahead and get that first half score. I don't think anyone's gonna debate on the security value. So I have a feeling the first half went
Yeah.
where we thought. So the real question here, with a 20-point deficit, will Logs make that turnaround and upset the 3 seed?
Oh.
I feel like it's going to. I hope it doesn't. I want to see the
Well,
Logs
all right.
out. But
All right, but in fairness, like I need to quote the great Matt Lee here, right? Logs tell us how the body got onto the table.
no.
MFA will put the body on the table.
Right.
So I'm going I'm leaning into MFA. Right? Both of these are 5 scores. If we look at logging, right, logging really turns into an IG2 and an IG3 control. We still need them, right? They're still there in IG1, but not to this point. What 8.1 tells us, MFA, right, it's IG1 all the way. And from a CMMC perspective, right, we have a very specific obligation to have strong MFA that is implemented. So I think from a compliance perspective, I'm going MFA, only because that's the thing that will actually take down the system. Like that will cause the compromise to happen.
Yeah, it's and definitely in insurance, I imagine that's one thing you can check for pretty easily. Is that fair to say?
And that's one of those of we talked some about it. So there's actually some underwriters that are watching this, by the way, which I thought was kind of cool. I got a couple
Welcome
text messages.
underwriters. We're Dustin is becoming the standard here, so representing.
One of the pieces on it though with insurance is like you can't leave things open to interpretation too much, right? And so the MFA being, I know there's a lot of nuance to it, but you know, MFA offer on versus logs retained or not is a lot broader, to where at least it's like MFA, okay, we all kind of know what that is generally, right? Versus the logs gets a lot more. The logs for what? So yeah, MFA all day on the insurance side, even though logs are getting to be important because whenever you have a breach, we got to, you know, attackers got into the system. Can we, if you can't show where they went from the legal standpoint, then we have to assume that they got to everything, right? So it's been really nice I've worked some really small claims because there was such great logging. There was like a SIM in place, things like that, that we were really like, oh, we had one, they got a foothold in the firewall, and then they got to an old archive backup server that had no data on it. And we were able to show like, hey, it's nothing else. And so the claim ended up being tiny.
That's great. And for all the listeners, you have to turn on logging. It is not on by default.
Tell me those audit pool policies on the Windows baseline are just set to not configured. That's crazy.
So again, going back to the CIS, right? Those CIS benchmarks, you have to turn these things on. It is not there by default.
Yeah. Now, Wayne, you were a little nervous to share your pick, but now with a 20-point deficit, are we going to see a comeback?
This again, I think could go either way, and I'd really like to see CIS make this more applicable to the tail end of like an IG1, at least for some type of logging to happen, right? We can't wait for IG2. It's too important today, especially from a forensics standpoint, if they've already gotten into the front door. But I'm going to go with MFA. I agree with my friend Matt Lee. You know, it's what's putting the body on the table to begin with, right? So you know, this should be an easy takeaway for MFA.
We watched Arizona do it last night, breaking the record for most 50-point gains in a first half and with the largest deficit. Let's see if those Bearcats, namely MFA, holds that lead into that final score.
Woo! Oh, there we go.
They even extended the deficit.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. 90.
That's big. I mean, it's just it sounds like from what I heard, it's just a non-starter, right? If it's not even there, you don't even get a chance to check if logs are retained because the audit's already over. The insurance is already over. There's no point in going deeper.
Right. Yeah. And you brought up the trust mark earlier. This is actually one of the non-negotiable controls, safeguards inside of the trust mark. MFA is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to have it on every account, even if it's non-privileged, right? Because you just don't want them being able to get in.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean,
and
to Wayne's point,
the same
it's
for
there in a lot of
CMMC.
cases. Yeah, it's there in a lot of cases. You got to turn it on. 365 has some really good built-in logging. You just got to turn it on. I'd love to see that become, like, I don't want to do a 3 versus 15. I want it to be like a 2 and a 2 next year, right?
Right.
But that should be the standard. That is, I mean, Wayne's right. That'd be great to see that in IG1, especially because
Agreed.
it's not this huge burden. It's go do the slider, run the command one time.
Right. Even if you're not logging everything except access. Access would be perfect to start with, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amen.
2 on 2. Interesting concept, Dustin. We'll take it into consideration. All right, let's kick in. We have our final 1 seed, I believe, of the tournament, with DLP's shortage already getting some attention early on. But the fan favorite from a naming perspective, D-Mark, never met her. Wayne, it's been a while since you kicked off, man. We got data walking out the door versus extreme impersonation. What are you feeling?
And so I'll bring back some of last week's commentary, right? DLP is often not properly configured, not because they don't know the configuration they're putting in. It's because of the amount of experience and understanding you have to have aligned to the type of data that you're actually looking to protect from leaving the organization. And in many cases, MSPs and even all the way down to their customer set, they don't understand the type of data, how it's supposed to be classified, the sensitivity nature of that data, and then what are the proper protections to put around it, right? There's a lot that goes into it. And so it's no surprise to me that this is the #1 seed going in, and with DMARC being up there as well, but this is a different layer.
A whole different domain. Yep.
It's just a different challenge, because now we're actually talking about preventing those spammers from being able to get those phishing attempts and business email compromise into our environment if it's not properly configured, right? So again, it's an interesting matchup from my perspective, but I think security, the first half, DLP is going to take it. The second half, I think we might see an upset though with DMARC actually coming out from behind compliance.
It's interesting to me. You say, we got effectively what you're saying is you got the entry point going against the exit point. Just depends what they walk out with. And you're in the first half weighted towards security. I'm a little surprised if that was your call out, the entry point. I would think DMARC would take the first half. Can you break that down a little bit for us?
Sure. So there's a challenge in the overall understanding of data itself and what data they have. And again, I'll pull a CMMC thing: stored, processed, and transmitted, right, around controlled unclassified information. You should be using that same set of language inside of your own environment when you're looking at how data is moving around inside of the systems devices that you manage, and putting the appropriate protections in place at those markers, again, where the data is stored, because it could be your backup, it could be where it's processed, it could be accessing some storage SaaS solution or whatever, and then transmitted across your network environment. There are a lot of things to look at here from an overall DLP perspective. And look, let's just call out AI for just a second, right? That is because
we got 3.5 episodes without saying it, man. You botched it.
I mean, it's post RSA. Yeah, post RSA, and there's so much. Right, there's so much AI that came out in RSA. I think that this helps at least distribute some of that the AI noise. Just a little bit, right?
A little bit. Right. What's your take, Wayne? What's the AI comment?
The ability, again, if we look at stored, processed, and transmitted, AI becomes a thorn inside of everybody's existence today because of the ease of how quickly you could drop something sensitive into AI and have it just leave the environment with no controls on it. And now it's gone and it's public forever in some kind of LLM, right? So again, that's why I'm leaning toward the first half and the security being on the protection component, especially with AI coming into play a lot more today. And DMARC being there though on the back end from the overall.
I like it. That paints a way better picture for me. Dustin, one thing Wayne mentioned in there was, on a form and whatnot. Is this something insurance is looking for, either of these? We got Hal hopping on the phone.
Yeah, we're scanning for DMARC. But I mean, there's one big carrier that does. Do you have any of the three following in place that are SPF, DKM, and DMARC? To where it's just there's not enough understanding on it. And then DLP goes back to the other, yes, that's coming up. Do you have DLP? Check yes or no. And, is like we've talked on, I think, every episode at this point. Who knows how it's configured? I saw one company where it's like an email alert went to a unmonitored mailbox if somebody emailed credit card info in an email, pattern matching. They're like, yeah, we got DLP. Like, great. So I don't trust either of these controls. I'm saying it can be done well.
You don't trust the people behind these controls.
I don't trust the people.
Right, the people.
Yeah.
Well, and for somebody to throw in there is like how many organizations still have in the DMARC policy of P equals none. Right? They're not rejecting it. And for those who aren't familiar with DMARC, that policy that like you can have DMARC, but if you have that configuration set to P equals none, which there might be some major marketing carriers or marketing platforms that require that, you effectively have no DMARC. You may have a DMARC record, but there's no enforcement being done anywhere for those for that control.
Yep.
All right, let's get this first half score underway. And we have a potential upset alert. Okay.
That doesn't surprise me. We've talked kind of, I think, Zach, at the beginning of that, right? You said one's like coming in, the other's going out. So
that's how I saw it. Then I was able to pivot my mindset after Wayne's explanation. I was like, oh, it's talking about the actual protection of the DLP, because if they're even in and you have the right things protected, maybe it would have gone. But it was the entry point going in for the first half. Lawrence, Wayne talked a little bit about storage with CUI and some CMMC controls. Are we going to see DMARC hold this lead and take another upset, or is DLP gonna take it away?
Wow. This is legitimately difficult. Now, I'll say from a CMMC perspective, right, we have that SC control there. That's a 5-point control. So that is really important. On the other side with DLP, we have 3.1.3. It's one of my favorite controls because it's one of the easiest to get wrong. And that talks about controlling the flow of CUI. And so, on one hand, we have something that's very early kill chain, and 313 is, as I call it, 1-point control, right? So it's one, but it ties to so many other things because it's very easy to get wrong, but it ties to so many other things. But on DLP, we're dealing with something that's very late in the kill chain. With DMARC, we're talking about something that's very early in the kill chain. I think from a compliance perspective, we're going to end up with that SC control, right? Just because it's a 5-point Spurs impact, but also think about all of that stuff with Riz this week, right? We had a lot that was email based this week, so there's a lot that I think DMARC might have prevented or stopped for getting this content to land in a mailbox, right? We even had domain impersonation, so like a directly attributable control that DMARC will influence. We had that in this week's Riz. So I think for the final score, I think DMARC is going to take the lead here.
Well, keep the lead, rather. They did keep the lead in the first half, and looking at me budgeting my time for the final 3 games, we are going to jump to this final score.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and we have a botched second half. DMARC fell asleep on the court.
Oh my gosh.
Interesting.
CMMC might be really making sure stuff isn't leaving that door, if you will.
Wow. Yep. I would say 313 ties to so many things. Like it's one of the easiest things to get wrong. And there's lots of places, right? If we're not controlling the flow of information, yeah, there's a lot that can go wrong. All right. So
Yeah.
I was leaning into Hal's Riz there. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
And we have the alleged Taco Bell game of the week. All right. Another two fan favorites, my personal favorite. We got Windows 7 Walking Dead, something we talked about if it's really still out there in the wild, and the conclusion there was a resounding yes. Going up against, I think Dustin's probably talked about it the most, anonymous access, all you can eat. So let's kick it to Wayne first. I feel like it's been a minute. Let's hear this hot take.
Well, I actually have a question here, right? Because when we're talking about anonymous access, is this also going down the API thread as well?
That's a question for the HAL developer,
All right.
Lawrence.
Yeah. Wayne, I believe that it is. This is broadly, yes, all anonymous access.
Yeah, perfect, right? Because I think if we're including API in this, then I suspect that this is going to be a forefront leader going into it. I understand the challenges that came up during the Windows 7 Walking Dead last week, right? And I can't believe there's still Windows 7. Someone also mentioned running 98.
Nobody tell them about Windows XP.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, Windows XP or Windows 98.
Yeah, 98. Yeah, someone mentioned that last week too, right? Windows 98. So 7 isn't as bad as some of those other outstanding items. It's bad, but not as bad as some of those other ones. But I suspect that Anonymous is going to take this one, right? Because I don't think I'll give you an example. A lot of times for the API to get implemented, the vendor community has allowed all access through the API key with very little configuration to be able to turn things off, right? So it's horrible and allows the potentially privileged access, depending upon the type of application and API access that it has, back into your environment. And I would guarantee you that this is another one, Lawrence, correct me if I'm wrong, that's not being logged properly, right?
100%.
Against the access control. Look, I am a fanboy of the AC category myself, because it's probably the most important and the least paid attention to from an overall configuration standpoint. SI, yes, is another important one, but if we can't get access right, nothing else matters.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to go with Anonymous taking this one all the way.
And let's take this first half score and pull it up and then go to Lawrence. He talks about CMMC in this one. Is he spot on with what he's saying? Is there a chance that the 2 seed is able to potentially either hold or come back when we see this score pop up?
So I am 100% with Wayne on this. Right, access control. Right, there's a reason that it is so long. In most CMMC assessments, the access control domain by itself is the better part of 2 days.
Oh wow!
It is a long and detailed and nuanced control. Yep. So right, it is. There's a reason for that. So I think from a compliance perspective, anonymous access, especially if we're including APIs, and Wayne, I am so grateful that you brought that up, because that is an incredible point. Right, especially if we look at like Microsoft Graph, if we look at some of the exploits that are available in our cloudy modern world, there's a lot of access that is available just by default that you have to turn off. And so yeah, anonymous access by far. Windows 7, yeah, right, you're it's out there. I mean, I just just recently saw a Windows 98 system that was buried inside of a CNC control panel, and I could not believe what I was seeing. I was like, wow, I want to take a picture of this because of just how old it was. I mean, like at this point, I've often referred to myself as being like older than Google, and most people don't believe that. And I'm like, yeah, like Google is not all that old, but Windows 7, it's getting up there too. Huge, right? Huge attack surface area, but that anonymous access, we don't have it logged. It allows us to do potentially anything. I'm going for anonymous access all the way from the compliance as well.
All right, and hopefully we can get that first half score. There it is. We have
Closer than I thought.
anonymous
That's
access.
a lot closer than I thought as well.
Okay, so Dustin,
Yeah,
you didn't get to give your take, but you're saying a lot closer than you thought. So you are in line with the rest of the panel?
Anonymous access all day. Going back to picking on Microsoft a little bit, out of the box 365, anonymous links that never die, which is wild to me. But so
it's
I think
a feature.
Yeah, there you go. It's easier sharing. Real world is, I don't go back to what Lawrence mentioned. Like I know one manufacturing company that is, I want to say it's Windows XP, but they have it firewall segmented properly, and then they have a NAS device in the middle, then that's segmenting again to where it's like it's mostly fine. But the anonymous access is, there's so many tools out there. And then going back to, one of Hal's favorite things is, not only is anonymous access bad, but also it's not credentialed. It's not, there's no gate, but there's no logs.
Right.
You don't know who's great. Here's, 20 different people accessed it. That doesn't help. Who are they? It
sounds like it's got to be Hal's favorite team from this description.
Yeah. This checks the head and the heart, man. I'm excited.
Right.
I want to see a huge blowout.
Let's see if it becomes a huge blowout in this final score. And we got a comeback actually going against the panel.
Get out.
Oh, boy, we got a 14 seed going to the Elite 8. Is this Steph Curry on the squad? What's going on?
All right.
I don't know.
Our final four is going to be all the controls that we were all making fun of and rolling our eyes at.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man.
Our threat model was not accurate.
Well, let's pump the brakes. The Riz, there probably were some Windows 7s getting compromised. I mean, there's got to be some type of note here to give a little bit of reason.
I have a very strong feeling that we're leaning into the fact that, right, we have a Windows 7. Right, it is a massive surface area. We can't patch it. Right, we can't secure it. It has legacy authentication. It has legacy communication protocols. So there's a lot there. I am surprised. I think that we probably have some recency that has this bias going. Like, I mean, that's huge, right? 85. That's huge.
Yeah.
All right, down to the last two. We have no behavior blocking, going head to head with URL logging, taking that vacation like Dustin going to London, totally working, of course. We got blind execution against blind navigation. Let's give it to Lawrence first. We got execution going against defense evasion. We know how Hal feels about logs. What's your take?
We do. I think in right, if we look at the just look at the CIS controls, right, we have two comparable controls between 10.7 and 8.7. That's a little bit of a tongue twister. I think that we're going to see in the first half that 4 seed for sure with no behavior blocking, because that's going to be execution focused. And right, URL logging tells us how the body got onto the table. It tells us how the bad thing happened, or potentially what the malicious threat actor was up to. But it doesn't necessarily cause there to be an incident. It cannot be part of the root cause, where no behavior blocking absolutely could be could be contributory to what the root cause is. How did the bad thing actually happen?
I have a feeling there'll be resounding agreement on this first half being the security one. So let's pull that first half score and then go to Dustin to talk about if, yep, as we expected. So no behavior blocking does indeed have the lead. Now, Dustin, the famous question, does the logging control make that upset in the second half?
At the way this day's going, yes. I don't agree with it. I think the behavior we talked earlier, right? That there's a lot of good behavior blocking stuff now, especially like again using Windows desktop, the most widely used OS in the world, right? There's some really good default behavior blocking in place now, but I feel like just the Hal's thirst for logs is going to give us URL logging, and it's good stuff. You can see, that what were the attacks, what were the threat actors, a lot of times if data was exfiltrated, it does its C2 servers, hits that kind of thing. I'm not saying it's not useful. I'm just saying, behavior blocking, let's just stop it in the first place.
Yeah.
Wayne, you've been a lifetime viewer.
Behavior blocking. You think URL is going to take it? I guess I'm confused now. Where you were going there?
Oh yeah, Dustin, what's your final take here?
I think URL logging is going to take it.
You think so?
I do.
I'm confused by your logic. I'm actually surprised with that logic that behavior blocking made it this far in the tournament. Then, right? Look, because I agree with you. If you stop the bad behavior, the body's not on the table.
Yeah.
But the logging, and I agree with Lawrence. The logging isn't going to. There's nothing malicious in the logging. It just allows the lateral. You're still allowing the lateral movement without catching it as part of your kill chain test set. But so I'm going to say no behavior blocking. I have to believe that this one's going to live out, right? Especially after losing the whole API side on the last one.
If I got to pick, Wayne, it would be behavior blocking. But this goes back to my my rivalry with Hal.
Right.
I think behavior blocking, but I think Hal's going to pick URL logging.
We have Dustin versus Hal in the first round next year.
I want to say I feel like there's a scene in maybe a Stanley Kubrick movie that's coming to mind here.
All right, let's get this going here and get the final score. And it is an upset.
Justin.
The bracket is thrown just like his NCAA bracket. It's ripped up in a corner. Oh my gosh.
That is wild. All right. So I think I think Hal is not opening the pod bay doors here. I think he is denying us. Wow. And Wayne, I think I'm showing my age as well on that one.
Yeah.
Tough to see.
For anyone who's watching, just go out and watch 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then you will understand how.
Right. Exactly.
And when you do,
we are dating ourselves.
When you do, all of your minds will be, if you will. All right, we got our final matchup of the week, the last opportunity to make it to the final 8 teams. And honestly, I'm excited for this matchup because I do feel like they are so close to each other.
They are.
You can't have one without the other almost, but yet there's a world where you can. Dustin, you mind opening up our final matchup of the day?
I do. This one I struggled with last week too. I'm gonna go ACLs though. They can get in, but you can keep them constrained, keep them from getting to stuff. I think there's a huge amount of benefit. I still think it's really underused. Whenever ACLs are back, all that good stuff. Minimum admin rights on everything, and it's powerful. And then you can also show, again, going back to the compliance side of what groups have access to what. Admin MFA is just kind of like you're in or you're out. So both the head and the heart are going with the 6 seed on this one.
Head and the heart.
Anyway.
What was that, Wayne? Sorry, I talked over you. One more time.
I said but if they still have the any for the access.
Oh, that's a good point.
So, okay.
Yeah. I mean, Wayne, no one listening to this would ever possibly have an any rule.
Right.
Yeah. Just remember, Wayne, our security engineers are perfect, and they get it right every time.
Well, Hal does believe that there's a lot of faith in people, so
that is true.
All right, Lawrence.
How much faith in humanity?
Hal loves humans. Lawrence, where are we feeling on that final matchup?
Right. So we have that IA domain, and against an AC domain, we have 2 5-pointers that are here. I am going to go from a compliance perspective. These are almost equal weights. The practitioner in me is going to lean into that 2 seed with admins being MFA exempt. All right. If we say this is the one thing that we have, right? The one control that we have to lean on. I think that having single factor authentication for an admin credential, which again, I know no one that's watching this ever would. I think that is going to absolutely take this competition because it's just right. It's bad. So yeah, I'm going for that 2 seed.
Well, we already know Hal let in 1 MFA into the Elite 8. Wayne,
Yep.
Are we seeing 2 MFA teams making it to the Elite 8 here, or are we going with Dustin?
Ooh.
Hey, you know what? Old guys rule. Lawrence. I'm with my friend. I agree. Admin MFA exempt should win out. We should have 2 MFA in the final round.
All right, let's get the first half score.
All right, Wayne.
And Dustin, a little surprised to see a lot of separation here.
Yeah. Because I mean that seems again on the ACLs piece. I think we all agree it's a pretty strong control. And then from the compliance side is what. So I'm going to predict a strong second half comeback. I don't know if it'll be enough to pull it out though.
Okay. All right. Any final? You guys staying strong on MFA? Obviously, they have the big lead. I imagine you are. So let's wrap it up here. And the final team entering the Elite 8 is indeed a second MFA control.
Go old.
All right, MFA versus MSA. Oh, wow, this is going to be a good matchup. This is going to be a strong. That's going to be a strong contest there.
I don't know if that matchup's possible. I'd have to double check the bracket. I hope it's not, unless they both make the championship. That'll be a strong debate.
That would be wild.
Let's pull up this final slide so we can talk a little bit on this next week's guest. We have the championship, and we have Corinne Wise. And if I have this correct, Lawrence, C3PAO, is that correct?
C3PAO, very experienced CMMC assessor. She is going to bring the CMMC heat for next week. So it's going to be wild.
That will be fun. And Wayne, thank you for joining and being a first-time panelist with us, brother. Before you hop off, I know we're a minute over, but I always like to ask, you obviously have been watching, you wanted to be invited and took me up on being a panelist. What makes these talks around configuration so important to you?
I think what makes it so important is that you get the different perspectives from everybody, not only from an insurance perspective, but from an assessor's perspective, someone that's able to do the audits. And then you also get the insight, right, from the industry and the threat intelligence and everything else that's going on. I just think look, guys, this is phenomenal, right? Because it helps pull the viewers actually pull all of these things together and make the best decision that they can in order to lower their overall business risk. And let's hope they do the right thing.
I love it.
That's right.
Appreciate it. And Lawrence, on your side, being a MSP, some assessor background there. Something me and you talk about a lot is enforcement. We talk about these controls, obviously the value from all the points of view, but what does any of this mean without actual enforcement?
And enforcement in from a technical perspective, or enforcement from a regulatory oversight perspective?
I was leaning towards regulatory, but you can take it how you want.
Yeah, no, it's a solid question, and I think I'm going to kind of line up with something that Wayne said. Right, we talk about this stuff and it's kind of fun, but at the same time, there's a legitimate value that we're talking about, like years and years of experience, being able to even hear some of the points that what Dustin's seeing on the insurance side, it's fun, but my hope is that everyone that's watching gets to take one thing, right? They can take one thing away, and they can say, yeah, maybe I'm going to go check my firewalls, and I'm going to double check that I don't have that any rule. And right, maybe with that one change, we right we stave off a bad thing happening somewhere. So I mean, that's why I think this is great from an enforcement perspective. I'll say from a regulatory enforcement perspective, CMMC is very much here, right? As a lead CCA myself, as a level 2 certified MSP, it's something that we know very deeply. We are seeing the regulatory enforcement that is now coming into effect for contract awards for defense industrial based customers, and for the first time, really, that in the CMMC program, like we are seeing the necessity to actually have a third party come in, verify your security controls, make sure you're doing the right thing, that you're living up to what your promises are, and so that enforcement phase is, I mean, it's here, it's happening, and I think it's super important for at least in the CMMC space for defense contractors to understand, like, what does that mean? Like, it's been kind of batted around for a long time, but it's definitely here now.
That's awesome. And that technical enforcement side, just to call out the obvious, these things, 365 MDMs, you can set up your ACLs up there, but when you talk about that machine level where a lot of these auditors are looking, these are areas that aren't always translated without actual verification and enforcement at the registry level, if you will. So, when you're putting your security posture in place, when you're getting that baseline established, Windows updates happen, applications get installed, all these, the number one interface box is the user box. And unfortunately, without actual enforcement at the technical level, we don't know what's the machine is actually reading unless we have that enforcement layer from that technical side. So that's why I love to talk about this. Bring it top of mind. You can do everything you want, but if you can't prove it, you can't enforce it, the attacker can abuse it. All right, boys. Thank you for being here, and looking forward to the championship next year, next week.
Next week. That's right.
That's a cliffhanger, right? All right.
Yeah.
See everyone next week.
All right. Thanks again.
All right. Thank you.